The sense that I get that I'm helping, that I'm aiding those couples and those individuals really turn their lives around and really turn their relationships around is very important and very rewarding for me.
Welcome to LoveLink, your guide to love and connection in all forms. We're your hosts, Selena Simon and Simone Humphrey. Today, we are so excited to welcome Yaron Schwartzman, the newest member of our Modern Mind team at our group practice. We have our practice in Williamsburg and the West Village. And today we thought it would be really fun to interview Yaron to get to know his therapeutic style, him as a therapist, and understand a little bit more about how he works.
Thank you. Really excited to be here with both of you.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you on board. And we know that you specialize in addiction as well as in couples. You do a lot of couples therapists, including seeing couples who are making the decision to uncouple. So it's exciting to have a member of our team with those specialties. So just to start us off, tell us about your journey to becoming a therapist.
Yeah, it's been a long one, but an interesting one. I changed careers. I was a filmmaker, producer, and screenwriter for many years. I still write and had my own production company, and was always interested in the human condition, in stories and narrative and the interpersonal dynamics that are the stuff of life, So those were always the stories that I was attracted to. They're always the stories that we told. And a couple of years ago when I started to maybe think about expanding my journey and wanting to do something different, therapy and psychology seemed like a really natural logical, corollary to what I was doing. And so I applied for and got accepted to the NYU master's program in social work and clinical psychology, and graduated and started working, in the field with veterans with substance use issues and with couples and individuals with personality disorders and everything else in between. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but I have a lot of life experience that I bring to bear in my practice. A lot of global experience as well. I was born in Israel, but grew up in Kenya and came here as an immigrant many years ago in the 90s. And so I have a perspective, I think, that's different. What they used to call a third culture kid. That's different from a lot of people that live here. And so yeah, that's more or less my journey so far.
And I think it is really lovely when someone becomes a therapist as a second career, because you do come with all of this training of life. I remember being in grad school and I was a couple years out of undergrad, and just having those few years, it was my first career, but made a big difference in contrast to some of the other my peers who had just come straight from undergrad. When you're talking to someone about how to navigate life with very little life experience, you come with a disadvantage. So I have a lot of respect, and I think that it's a lot of training that you've already been through by the time you went to the field.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that there is a lot of life experience. I've been to a lot of places, done a lot of things, had a lot of personal growth in my own life, and so I think all of that really comes to bear in the practice. And when couples come to me or individuals come to me, I often have a lot of relevant life experience that I can really impart, and I think that they feel that, and so of course empathy, of course analytical ability, of course knowing the practice, what you're doing in its granular details is very important. But I think that other, like you said, that X factor of just having lived and having traveled down many different paths is something that people can instantly relate to, and it can be something that brings a lot of connection and a lot of depth to the relationship.
Yeah, well put. So what's been the most exciting part about being a therapist for you? What do you love most about it?
I mean, there's so many things, but I have to say that one aspect of it that stands out for me is doing the couples work at the moment. I mean, I have a balance of individual and couples, maybe 60-40 couples individual, but the couples work I really love, sort of wading in and seeing people get closer, seeing people work through their issues, seeing people connect, sometimes after long periods of feeling very isolated and and very disconnected from each other. And so the feedback, the progress, the sense of the stakes that are happening in a couples therapy session has been really revelatory to me and has been really profound. And I'm very engaged in helping people try to sort through whatever obstacle challenges, wherever they feel stuck, and try to get them to a place. Because most people, if they're in a long-term relationship, experience some kind of wilderness. They experience some kind of moments, whether it's isolated or sometimes extended, of feeling disconnected from each other. And I think, therapy can be a really powerful tool to get them back on the same page, into that connection, into that connected place where the relationship really thrives and has a chance to blossom again. Even if some of my patients have been together 15, 20, 25 years, there's always room for growth. There's always room for evolution. And I think just watching that and being part of that has been really powerful for me.
So when people come to see you, Yaron, what can clients expect from sessions with you? What is it that you bring to sessions, and how do you approach treatment?
It's a great question. I think I was telling a couple that have just sort of come on board. They were asking me what is your approach, and they were saying that they were saying that they were a couple that were sometimes more engaged. They were more sort of like in their minds and in their brains, and needed someone to be able to draw out, somebody that was soft and warm, to be able to draw out their feelings. And I said, I think I'm an interesting mix. I'm both analytical and empathetic, and I think that I definitely think there's room for making the proverbial cup of cocoa and spreading a warm blanket over them. But at the same time, I also believe in some accountability, and I have this mix where I want people to be accountable to themselves and to the relationship. But at the same time, I think that really flourishes in a place where people feel safe and secure. And so I don't know, I feel like it's a mix of warmth and accountability, if that makes any sense, and occasionally a little bit of sense of humor. I have a couple that we have a really good rapport, and every once in a while they've got a dark sense of humor with each other, and every once in a while the three of us really connect on a humorous level, and I think that's been very therapeutic. And I think sometimes people think that there's a very kind of I don't want to say stern, but very formal relationship with the therapist, and it can be that, but I think it can also be very human and very real, and so I like bringing all of that to the table.
I was going to say, you really meet the clients where they're at. When they need humor, that's effective intervention. When they need holding, and also when you see that they're not maybe acting in the relationship in the best interest, or acting with themselves in their best interest, that you really point that out and are direct with them. So I think that really is a lovely balance between all of those.
Yeah, and also your realness. Like, who you are as a person is also who you bring into your professional life. People really know you as a human being, and I think a lot of people really value that in a therapist.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's exactly right, and I feel very comfortable showing that without taking anything over, and really the couple are the center stage, and in some ways we're the process agents, we're the audience in some ways, and that's never a role that I forget, but at the same time, yeah, I'm very much me in all circumstances, including in my professional life.
Very cool. Especially if we're helping people to be the most authentic versions of themselves and we put on this show or an appearance, it's a little hypocritical. So I've always really appreciated in myself, but also with therapists that I've worked with, someone who really I can feel like is a person in the room, like that comes through, because that's humanity. We're in life together. We're not alone.
And people feel that if there's a inauthenticity or something performative.
So there's so many theories about change and what brings about change in therapy or what brings about change in a person. Wondering if you have any theories or any kind of models that you use as a guideline to understanding change in people in this work.
I'm not sure, and I may have to go back and correct myself, but I'm not sure that I have a model or a theory to understand change. But I'm very tuned into to seeing change when it happens, and seeing that transformation and seeing the realization. And I'm a big believer that if change is going to occur and it's going to have any kind of impact, it really has to come from the patient. It really has to come from, the person in therapy. There's oftentimes I'm tempted to jump in and offer a solution or offer a conclusion or draw a line between 2 points and kind of have the aha moment for the patient. And those tend to be the least significant and the most superficial. And I think that when I've seen real realization, real awareness, real kind of, and then in transformation is when the client or when the patient comes to that understanding, to that awareness on their own. So I'm a big believer in that. If that's a model for change or a theory of change, then that's the one that I have, which is I really think it has to be the patient. It has to come from them. And when it does, oftentimes you see real motion, you see real action, and you see real transformation.
And there's something extremely powerful about you as a therapist noticing those moments of change, highlighting those moments of change, supporting the client in those moments of change. That's really the power of the therapeutic relationship, that you're being witnessed in that change.
Yeah. And helping them, when you do point it out, when you do honor that, when you recognize it, it really solidifies it, reinforces it, and integrates it. Because I think it's really easy for us to do something that maybe feels different, but we're not even aware we've done it or we miss it. And it just sort of that moment kind of runs by. And when we really are able to say, wow, this is something, this is a shift, and someone is seeing this and I'm seeing this, then it just becomes all the more real and powerful.
Right. Absolutely. Totally agree.
What are some of the specialties? I know Sina mentioned this sort of helping couples to separate and substance use. Can you talk a little bit more about one of your areas of specialty?
Yeah, I think the conscious uncoupling, which I think was a term that became popular with Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin many years ago, and was derided in the public sphere, but has since, I think, very much taken on a lot of credibility. It's something that I practice, that I have a lot of experience with, and I think that it's really, really important for couples that really have come to the end of this iteration of their relationship, and if they have children, it's even more important. But it's, I think, irrespective whether you have children or not, and people want to disconnect, or they want to evolve past this relationship in a way that preserves as much of their dignity and wholeness as possible, because it can be a process that really chips away at your self-esteem, at your sense of dignity. It can disempower people, and it's a very corrosive process. And so there's a lot to be said for coming into a safe therapeutic space with somebody that has a lot of experience with this, and unraveling and unspooling the relationship in the gentlest, kindest, most empathetic and understanding way that you can, which has, of course, it saves the dignity of the other person. It helps them get to another place, to get past the pain that they're feeling. But it also helps, a lot of people find they're always surprised by how much it helps them be whole with themselves as they're going through the process, and in these moments we often say and feel and do things we really regret. And of course there's, and this process and this therapy helps people really take control of their own narrative and take control of their own emotions, and in hindsight, it's a very therapeutic and very powerful way to sort of move to another phase of the relationship. And especially, like I said, especially if they're kids, you really want to minimize the harm and maximize the sense of security and protection and safety the children feel. And so it's something that, I think if any parent, both parents, as much as they may be in a state of disagreement and attrition with each other, they really value and love and care for their kids. And so the communication, the better the communication is between them, the healthier the family dynamic stays, because the kids can feel it all. They can feel everything, even if it's unspoken. They're the canaries in the coal mine. And oftentimes, the parents in their frustration and ire, they can become oblivious to what's happening with the kids. And so this is also a process that helps them become sensitive again to what their kids need and what the family dynamics are, because we can become desensitized in this battle stage or whatever it is, this war of attrition, this war of wills, this sort of like inflection point in the relationship. So yeah, that's divorce counseling or conscious uncoupling, and I'm obviously a big proponent and a big believer in EFT for couples work. I think a lot's been said about EFT. I'm not sure how much more novel I can add to it, but I just think that it is really the idea that it's grounded in attachment, and that couples are constantly looking and seeking a sense of security, a sense of connectedness with each other and in the relationship is to me it's the blueprint for relationships, and EFT can really be a blueprint and a guideline for how to get back to that place when you feel lost and when you feel disconnected, which I would say most, if not all, couples come in with that feeling, or that's the underlying issue, even if the presenting problem is, I don't know, John, didn't take out the garbage and she didn't do this, or whatever the content is. EFT allows us to go a level or two below and really explore the attachment. And then the other thing is that, the substance use issues I've worked with substance use disorders and with military veterans, with people of all ages, all stripes, all variations, and I think that is something that I feel very strongly about, and I think it's an important part of my practice. Our therapeutic practice is to help people navigate a healthy life free from substance use, and I think both in couples therapy and in addiction, the stakes are very, very high. The potential for change is really apparent, and people with substance use issues, they're really at a point where they're struggling, and it's very clear what they're struggling with. And when they succeed, when they achieve what they set out to, when they transform and meet the goals and meet the standards that they want for themselves, it's just a very powerful therapeutic moment. And I think the same thing with couples. They come in a moment of crisis, and of course all our patients come in with important issues and important, and many of them come in a crisis, but like in couples therapy and in substance use issues, it's really very palpable. And so the sense that I get that I'm helping, that I'm aiding those couples and those individuals really turn their lives around and really turn their relationships around is very important and very rewarding for me. And I think I've also been inspired by my own personal journey in life, my personal life and all the sort of the ways and the various routes and ways and sort of obstacles and challenges that I've had to encounter. I'm 49 years old, and I have 3 kids, and so I've learned a lot, and I want to be able to impart that to the people that I work with.
Beautiful. I love that. So what do you think is helpful for clients to think about when choosing a therapist? Like, what do you think they should think about? What do you think they should look for? How do you think they should think about the first session? Like, if someone were to work with you, how do they know that you're the right fit?
I wish I had like a really complicated, interesting answer, but I think it's connection. I think you have to feel connected. I think you have to feel comfortable and connected and seen, and so, when you have that first session or even the introductory call, I think people feel it. There's some simpatico, there's something, if you couldn't quite put my finger on it, but you walk out of that meeting going, I think that person, can see me, can hear me, and, maybe can help me. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is just that feeling of feeling. Some people make you feel instantly safer, and they make you feel instantly easier, and they kind of just feel like you can exhale around them. And I don't know what that is, but if that's how a therapist makes you feel, you should probably follow that instinct.
And that's the reason we hired you. We felt that with you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you, Yaron, for taking the time to talk to us. And our listeners can look forward to an episode we're going to be releasing in a couple of weeks on divorce and this process of conscious uncoupling.
And you are accepting new patients. So if anyone is interested in working with you, they can email info@modernmind.co and find you on our website at www.modernmind.co. And we're so excited to have you on board.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity to expound on myself a little bit. Yeah, this was great. Thank you.